Hey Alex, thanks for that response. Um, I really enjoyed it, and it's making me think of how amazing it is that I can have a conversation with someone in Australia at at a high level, at an interesting, in depth, and you know rational level, and it's like it's out there in cyberspace, and anybody can see it, and anybody can participate in it. It's a real conversation. It's not a reality TV sketch where they, get real people to pretend to be some kind of attitude that I'm sure the directors of all these shows tell them to, like, emphasize. This is the attitude we want from you, from your character on Survivor or Real World or whatever the show is, and you have to, be extreme with it as you want to be, because it'll make it more exciting. And that stuff is such bullshit, and it's so popular. I mean, there's something very sick and circus-like about um, American Idol. It's like the celebrity cult and the circus almost rolled into one. Um, it's a really bizarre thing, but this kind of a discourse is a discourse. That's the whole point. It's a communication. It's not a programming. It's not one way. It's two ways, hopefully three ways, four ways, five ways. Not to mention, I mean, lots of people will just watch these conversations, hopefully, and not participate, which is unfortunate, but still, just watching them, they know that this is real. At least as real as any conversation between people could be. Um, and I've been thinking a lot about this, the idea of a method actor, and modern acting schools teach their students to become the role, to literally put themselves in the situation. Um, and I looked up uh, Debord, the Society of the Spectacle, and it seems like that whole book is online. I'll definitely take a look at that. This first little sentence here at the beginning: in societies where modern conditions of production prevail, all of life presents itself as an immense accumulation of spectacles. Everything that was directly lived has moved away into a representation. And I mean, he's taking this from a social critic, the position of a social critic, almost the opposite side of the position of a philosopher or a cognitive scientist. And I'm on that side of this, and he's using these words, this word representation, and directly lived, and saying the representation has now replaced our directly lived experience. And that's very significant for me, because there is, for as much as this notion of us as of a subject, we're the subject, the consumer, the spectator who observes the object, the spectacle, that model of media right now is it's very marginalizing and destructive, obviously, and it's reflected not only in the pop culture and the culture of the people, but in the elite philosophical um, priesthood of academia. This whole school of thought of cognitive science, of mental representation, it's if I mean, if you're not familiar with this kind of this vocabulary, you should check out some of my earlier posts, because I speak in terms of cognitive science because I'm best read in that field. And but the paradigm of representationalism is basically that the mind is nothing but a collection of symbols, And everything we experience as a result is a representation. And there's nothing real anymore. And so this school of thought has really blossomed as a result of computers and AI and the ability programmers have discovered that they have to construct things. And they've transferred it over into the sphere of human life, redefining what it means to be human so that they can claim to understand what a human being is and how the mind works. And so we see that even professional philosophers, scientists, academics are not able to escape the blob of media saturation of the spectator relationship to life. And it's like a disease that has infected our whole culture right now. But in the same sense that it's a disease, it's an evolutionary squeeze that's forcing us to evolve much quicker. And you see it in just the way our technology develops, the way our thought has been becoming more integral and holistic, and there are all these positive changes occurring among pockets of society that hopefully will continue to grow. And so there's hope, but there's also destruction, and so it's a difficult time. I mean, and as far as 9/11 in Iraq, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist. I tend to think that the world is inherently spontaneous and chaotic, and there's no Illuminati at the top of the show, projecting all the images onto the cave wall for all the masses. I mean, it certainly can seem that way, but I think even the people we think are the elites, they're just as much spectators as we are. I mean, you can say they produce the show. They fly the buildings into the planes, or the planes into the buildings, and they wage the wars, and that's true. But they're still people. We're all just people. It doesn't matter how high you are in government, you're still a person. You still have a limited perspective of knowledge, and you're not evil. I don't think anybody is inherently evil. But I'm not saying I think 9/11 was an inside job, because it's so. I mean, who's the inside and who's the outside? I don't know how government works these days. It seems like governments are just these international gangs that have legitimized themselves, taken power, and they, like Al Qaeda is a gang that doesn't have a nationalist root, country to call its own. It's this loose gang, and obviously all of the developed nations who are rooted in a geographical place, like the past structure, the past historical structure has always been, are very frightened by this trend. But you talked about that book, The Multitudes, and how society is turning into a fragmented, globalized community. And this reminded me of just some other words, other ways of thinking about this same idea. A lot of thinkers that I've read call this re-tribalization. That society has to become more fragmented because the nation-state model is too dependent on the consumer spectator model of what the subject is supposed to be, what the individual is. And the re-tribalization gives people a free voice again. But the planetization part, the global community part, there's this level of discourse that unites the people, so they're not going to war against one another.